talk loud enough, even if the microphone's over there, that we'll be good to go. All right, so I kind of, I'm not a huge handout person, but they kind of wanted something, so this is what I came up with. So our course description, just that hopefully throughout today, you'll be able to demonstrate application of the algorithmic questions using Angel. And my goal here is to show you some simple ones, show you a little bit more maybe sophisticated ones, and then really just obviously with a small group, just work with you to develop and tailor toward what you guys want to do. Because there's a lot of things that it takes. The nice thing about this is it takes, you know, once it's set up, it's all good to go, but it does take a little bit of time on the front end setting this up. So if you want to log into Angel, and you should now see on your list of courses my sandbox course, and I have a folder at the very top called Angel Algo Class. So that's where we're going to kind of spend some time. And all of you are editors on my sandbox course, so you can do whatever you want in my sandbox course, essentially. But I gave those rights to you so that you can set it up. Now, you don't have to necessarily go into my Angel course. If you want to go into your own sandbox course and kind of set some of these things up as we go too, so that way you have it in your own sandbox, that's fine. I just wanted to give you an option of kind of seeing where we're at and where we're going. So when we click on this, first thing, I've already set up I just set up, called it the algo test, and I've already set up one test question. So we'll take a look at it and we'll see, first of all, what the question looks like. So when you preview this here, so I've set it up, when you preview it here, it's going to pull this up. So you have 5 plus 25. All right, now, when I X out of here and I do another preview, this time it's going to give me 10 plus 23. All right, so why algorithms? Okay, well, I'm the type of person that I like to work smarter and not harder. And so the algorithms give me the opportunity to have a pretest or a practice test or practice problems, have a test, have retest, retest, retest if I need to, and I like to set this thing up once. And so the nice thing is, you know, especially for us in the business department, every classroom we have has computers, so it's definitely a benefit to us. But even if you have a student that, you know, even if you have a test, you have a paper copy version of it, and you have an Angel version of it, so if they did want to do the retake, you can just send them to the computer lab or whatever the case is. After school study center, they can go on to Angel, and you don't have to sit there and go down to the copy room, make copy after copy after copy of the retake, or go in there and change the numbers and then solve again, try to figure it out. So that's why I like to use the algorithms. Plus, I figured out as I've gone over the last 3 years, they can actually become pretty sophisticated. And so, again, one of the things, 2 things that I wish as a teacher I didn't have to do is plan and grade. Okay, well, this one solves at least one of those as far as the grading part of it. And the nice thing about this too is now it's recorded forever. So if you're somebody like me and don't like a lot of stuff on your desk, I don't have to have a lot of stuff on my desk. I can be out of town as long as I got the internet. I can grade and do some of these things. So let's just first of all just see how we set this up and how this works. So I'm going to click in here on the algorithm. So you can see this is how it's set up. So you can have as many points as you want for it, and then I'm going to come sit over here as we type this in. So you can see how this is all set up originally. So this is obviously the most simple algorithm that we can have. A plus B equals, and then the answer. So the way that we set this up is any variable that we want has to be in these brackets here. So I'll just retype this here. So if I go bracket A plus bracket B equals. So then when I come down here, if I just type in A here, it'll automatically give me the bracket. There's a couple different ways that we can do this here. We can do a continuous range. So you can have, so what this is saying is any number between 5 and 10. Now, if you have something that you want to make sure that you have some specific numbers, maybe it's you want to have odd numbers, or you want to have prime numbers, or whatever the case is, or you want to have even numbers, you can actually, or you want to have multiples of 5, you can actually go to where it says discrete list, and you can just separate these out. So we can go 5, 10, comma, 15, comma, 20. And so now the only ones for A, it's going to be one of those 4. It's going to be that choice. So that's kind of nice if you're doing something where you want to have a number that's pretty even. You don't want to have 17, for example. You want to have something. So that's one way you can do is this discrete list. you can also do, like I said, continuous range. You can also change the rounding. So you could have, this is all going to be even numbers, but if I wanted to have, let's say I was doing some type of dollars and I wanted to have 2 decimal places, I could have that in there as well. And it's all set up for me. Okay? So I'm going to change this back to 0 just for this particular problem. So that's the first part, just setting up your variables. And you can have 20, 30, 40 variables if you want to make a problem that big. And to add a new variable, so if I had A plus B, and let's add C in there, plus C, and to add a variable, I'll just click down here how many other variables I want to add. So I want to add 1. I'm going to do C, and let's do this one 100 to 200. So now the next thing you do is you come down to where your formulas are. So these are the answer variables, and you can type in 1. You can actually type in a word. So if I wanted to do solve, type that in, whatever the case is. And then so I got A plus B. Again, you have to have the brackets. Now I'm going to add though in also plus C in bracket there. And don't need to round it. They all should be even numbers. And then the next one down here is the answer box. So you can type in answer box, or you can type in net profit, or whatever it is that you want the kids to solve for. And then you can tab over here, get your 100%. So this, if you had like 2 parts of a question, you can do 50% of this question's 1 point, or if you had whatever the case is. So you can, we'll look at those here in a minute. And then here's the grading rubric. So you're going to solve, or the answer value. This is going to be a drop-down box. So if you had more than 1 variable, you could drop this down and pick the variable you want. 100% of this box is points. And then there's some different things you can do here. You have equals, which means that the students have to get the absolute right number. Okay, no rounding, nothing. It has to equal exactly what the formula pumps out. You can do numeric with rounding. So if we were to go back up there and have some decimals in there, and it was going to be 22.22 plus blah, 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 we could do rounding to 1 decimal place to 2 decimal places, whatever the case is. The other one that sometimes I like to do in personal finance is this numeric with tolerance. Because sometimes kids have a situation where some use a graphing calculator, some use Excel, some use use the calculator on the computer. So you might get just a little bit different. So let's say that maybe I wanted to say I want the answer to be within 0.5, and that's pretty generous, of that answer, depending upon how tight you want it to be. But at least that way, if a kid rounds it, and they don't continue the rounding, they may get, a little bit off, by a tenth of a decimal place or something there. So that gives them that option. So for this particular one, I'm going to go back to the equals. And once I have all those in, I just hit save, and it's going to go in here. And now, even with that added variable in there, I hit preview. And now I have 20 plus 23 plus 167. And the nice thing about this is I can hit show hide answers. It'll tell me there. I don't have to even, what I will do is I will calculate that the first time around, especially when we get into a more sophisticated formula, to make sure that it's actually doing the right thing. But as long as it adds up, we're good to go. Now the other thing you could do too that I'll just show you real quick is if you're in Internet Explorer. For whatever reason it doesn't work in Firefox, but if you're in Internet Explorer, you could actually go here, right-click, and you can go to print. So let's say for Bodwin, you're not in a computer lab, but you want to create a quick, retake test for a kid. You can have it there. And what I would do is you could do print, and I could print this here, go to print, and then I can go show hide answers, right-click, print, and then I have my test, and I have my answer key, and all I had to do is press 1 button. This preview. So that's a nice thing about it. So again, I think number 1 thing, right, you're saving a lot of time by doing that. So that's just a very simple, easy, quick formula. Now, we can get a little bit more sophisticated if we want as well. So let me see, as we go in here, I'm going to stop this just for a second. All right, so this one here is we have the compound interest. So let's go ahead and take a look at this particular formula.
All you do is just pull 1 question from that test.
Yeah, yeah.
Does it do like the first one, or do you just kind of?
You can select. In fact, let's.
Select it very.
Yep. Let's put that on the video. Okay. So let's add a question. So the question was, how do I pull another question from another exam? So I'm going to go to copy questions from an assessment.
And the nice thing here is if you have, somebody that you are, on their sandbox course, like now you're on my sandbox course, Bodwin, you can go pull any of these now. You don't have to recreate them. So this one, I'm going to go to the Personal Finance Master course is what I'm going to find, if I didn't already go by it. Okay. Personal Finance Master. I'm going to go to this compound interest, go up here to go. And then what you can do is you can just select the ones that you want right over here. So I could actually select all these on this page and then bring all 5 of them in.
Oh, I see, okay.
Yeah, but you can select which ones you want. So I'll do the last 4 since we already got the other ones in. We can take a look at those. All right, so boom, just as easy and quickly as that. It's so nice. Yeah. That's why, I mean, literally Angel is saves so much time just because I've been able to pull stuff in. And the nice thing about it is you find somebody to collaborate with. You work together, and yeah, it takes you a little bit of time to create it on the front end, but as soon as it's done, you can share it with your whole department, everybody else, so it's all good. So let's go ahead and take a look at this now. This one is going to be a little bit more sophisticated, but it's still just, we're looking at the compound interest. So I have 3 variables in here. So I'm going to have a dollar amount that I'm going to start to invest at some type of percentage. It's going to be compounded annually for a certain number of years. So those are my variables. So see, I just have a continuous range here, somewhere between 1,000 and 25,000. And this one I am going to round to 2 decimal places because it's a dollar amount. But I could also go in here and do a discrete list where I do 1,000, 2,000, 3,000. That might make it a little easier. And so that might compounded at some percentage between 2 and 12%, and that's going to be an even number. And this is saying here that it's going to be somewhere between 5 and 25 years. Okay, now this becomes a little bit more sophisticated formula. All right, so this variable here, and you'll see on your yellow sheet that I have here, this might be something we want to reference. These are all the different things that it can do. So it actually has what's called ASCII, plain text, some type of math thing. Bodwin probably knows. Yeah, so us business people, we probably, yeah, something. All right. So anyway, so it's just a way to type in the code. So, and it gives you examples of how to do that down there at the bottom of that yellow page and beyond, and it shows you all the different things that you can do. So if we look at this, look at these variables here, if we want to figure out what's the compound amount going to be, so what is it going to be after we've compounded it, we can put in the formula here. So we want to so what the formula is going to equal, and I'll try to scroll up here. So it's going to equal, okay, well, what was our original value? What did we originally put in? And we're going to multiply that by 1 plus our interest rate divided by 100 to get it to a percentage. And then we're going to take that, and when you have 2 stars like that in a row, or asterisks, that's going to be an exponent of the number of years. So the nice thing about that, again, in your yellow sheet, it'll tell you some of the different things as far as an exponent. Right up here on the second page, or on the last page there, all the different operators. So you have addition, subtraction, multiplication, so power of exponents. So this was what, I don't know, somehow I figured out at some point. This took me a little bit of time, I think, to figure out, but now that it's there, I think it's working. It doesn't really mean anything. It's a good question. The A and B here, it's basically a placeholder. So like I put in 1, 2, and 3 here. I could switch this to A, and then go up here to switch this to A. So it's just identifying this. I could also put in here compound in this instead of the A. So it's just something to just a value, I guess, just so you can see where you're at. So, but it doesn't. I mean, in this case, the only thing it's going to do is when we come down here, I want the value of A or the value of B, but you can change this in here to make it compound or make it interest or whatever it is that you want to do. And so, we put in this formula, and so yeah, it's going to take you a little bit of time to maybe master this formula. But if you have the formula from the internet, you can usually try to manipulate this around to get the right answer. And so what I did here is here's the answer, and I did numeric tolerance, and I did within $1 on either side. Specifically for this on compounding, because when you're compounding, and maybe that's not even enough tolerance, you can be at different levels versus, if you're using a financial calculator versus you're using an Excel spreadsheet. So that's why I did that. But yeah, when you come out of this, you save it. And if we go in here now and we go to preview, we could actually test this out. But if I compound $4,114.47 at 3% compounded annually for 22 years, my compound amount that I'm going to have at the end of that time is $7,883.75. That's going to be my end amount, and which means I will have drawn $3,769 in interest over that period of time. So again, and then you can see all these different ones: compounded monthly, compounded daily. So again, all these things are set up in there, and you might have to double check just to make sure it works for you. But you can go in there and you can actually make a story problem out of it. You can just keep everything the way it is, right? And so I could actually come in here, keep everything the way it is, and I could start typing in Tracy decides to start saving for retirement. She decides to put, and then there, yep. So then you can have it more of a story problem, and then I can come down here and I can do, and I can uncheck this, so I don't want it to update this particular question. I can hit save, and then it doesn't change all my questions around, it just changes this one. And so you could actually go in here and copy this question multiple times, change the names, change the numbers, and you have, as long as you're having the same question, but it just looks like a different question just by changing some of those things around. So that's pretty cool as well. I'm going to bring in one more question that I'm very proud of. I didn't actually do it. I've worked with Karen Tim, who is a person in our business department here at Millard North, because we do a lot with personal finance, and we do bank statements and registers and stuff. So we're going to go back into the personal finance master course, balancing a checkbook, the lost art of balancing a checkbook. Now this looks like it's a lot of questions. It's actually only one question. But we're going to hit OK, and then we're going to take a look at this question. So we're going to go down here, and you can see this looks very, very complicated. And there's a lot to it, but boom, it's already in here. So she has 44 different variables. So let's take a look at what she put together here, and I'm going to show you how to do something similar to this if you want to create something like this. It looks way more sophisticated than it really is. All right, so this one's going to be worth 12 points, what she had. So we have all this crazy talk in here. The nice thing to do is just hit HTML editor, and so that'll bring it back to life, make it look normal. Now, it's all squished, and you're like, well, I can't see anything really. If you hit this button right here, maximize the editor size, it'll bring it pretty much full screen. Okay, so now let me explain to you how Karen developed this. She developed this in Word, and then she copied it over. Now, I don't know why Word works better copying it over than Excel, but it does. So if you're going to do something like this, do it in Word and then copy it over. So she actually put all of the brackets and everything in. She typed all this into Word and then copied it over. So all the brackets that you see, it's a lot easier to do it that way than try to come in here and create a table in here. You can, but it's going to be just a little bit more challenging. So she actually created this in Word and then copied it over. And so anytime you see a bracket there, that is a variable. So let's minimize this. And so let's go and check this out. I'm going to maximize this screen. All right, so you can see, all right, here's all of our variables. Right? And so she actually had looks like 24 different variables there as we go. All right, and so like this one, the way that she did this one here is she wanted it to start out with the same every single time, so it's going to start out with 306.05. Now, we could actually change this here and make it a discrete list, so it's just easier to look at. So we could do 306. What was it, 05, I think it was. Hopefully, it'll mess that up. I'll just X out of it here real quick. Don't want to mess that up. I think it was 306.05. But anyway, so you could actually do the discrete list as well. All right, so now, then when you come down here, what she did is she just then continued on, and she had all these different variables, answer variables in here as well. So this one was whatever 2 plus 3 plus 2 was. So if you go up here, 2 plus 3 plus 2. And so I mean, once you start putting this together, I mean, it would make sense, you know, the way that she put it together. But I mean, it's really not that sophisticated. Then she just put in all these labels in here. So reading your bank statement, what is the amount, what is the bank statement, and then she had to figure out what was the percentage of the 12 points that we have here, right? And then she came down here, and then she had 12 different answers, okay, based on the different values that she was looking at in here. So looks pretty sophisticated, and it obviously would take some time to develop that. But we hit save, and now let's take a look at what that particular question is going to look like when we start to get into previewing the thing. Sure, we'll stop running that. All right, so now let's go up to preview, and we have all the questions that we put in before, and then we have this. I mean, look how nice, though, it looks really on the assessment. And you can change this around so it's just one, you can just do one question at a time if you wanted to. But I mean, this is how it looks. She actually put this in here, so if the check clears, you can actually put this in here. That's not necessarily going to make or break the difference for the kid. All right, but so we start reading this here, reading your bank statement and check register. What is the bank statement beginning or previous balance at the beginning of the month? So we could, then the kids type in right in there 306.05 and continuing on as you go. She has some other things. And what is the amount of the check that cleared the bank on August 19th? So we'd have to go back up here and look at August 19th and figure out, okay, what was the amount of the check? What's that? Let's see. So I'm guessing that'd be, you know, so you can take a look at that up there. And sometimes it's weird. You notice, I'll go back up there in a second here. You notice that it's weird sometimes. I don't know why, like it wouldn't do 1030. It just, if it's a 0 for some reason. But, you know, in that situation, you can go back up there and take a look, and that check's going to be $10.30 in there. So you have a lot of different numbers in here. But as we look here, all these different ones, we're going to start out with 306.05 every time. But some of these other ones are going to be a little bit different every time. So we have this check register as we go, but now it's previewed again. And once we preview it again, we have some different numbers. Now this time it's 604.34 in here. So, you know, like for me this week, actually, I'm in banking. I'm going to have the kids do this. So they're going to have to get, you know, 100% on this. If they don't get 100%, they're going to have to do it again, which is kind of nice because I don't have to sit, you know, a couple things that the kids want. They want immediate feedback. You know, especially in math, it's a little bit hard when you have to, you know, grade the paper, you know, look at it, look through each problem. And then, I mean, that's a lot of time to sit there and grade through, where you can have this, where they can have the instant feedback, and you don't have to be the one that's grading it.
Right.
So those are kind of nice things to do in there. So again, I mean, that's kind of the basic, you know, basic and then more sophisticated ways of using the Angel algorithms. And again, like I would say, is I would get together with maybe a couple different people, maybe even your PLC, and develop maybe some of these and then share with each other. So like for us, if we go out to, if you go out for us, and I can put all these in my sandbox course, but for us on the Personal Finance Master course, under new content, almost all of these are algorithms: calculating credit card charges, calculating loans, auto insurance, budgeting assessment. All these things are things that we've created that are in algorithms. So these are all, you know, here's another one: complete the following tables, unpaid balance each month. So when we look at this, so again, I can have the kids go on, we can do practice problems, we can do the test, and all I have to do is just rename it, use the same types of questions, or I can go in and just, where that continuous range is, just change the numbers around a little bit. And now we have the test, and then if the kid doesn't get it still, now we can do the retest. And so for me personally, I feel like the kids are benefiting more, and we're also benefiting more as a teacher, because now we don't have to spend the time doing the grading, we can spend the time helping the kid. And so where the kids, you know, the 2 or 3 kids that maybe aren't getting it in the class, we can go spend specific time with them, and the other kids that are getting it, they can either move on, they can try additional problems, and we can really help those kids out. So what I'd like to do for the remainder of the time that we have is just go ahead and help you with whatever you want. So I mean, I could certainly show you how to create one completely from scratch if you want me to do that. If you have something that you brought in, let's just create something while we have the time here today, and we can show it on video as well. But I'm going to pause this for now. All right, so we're going to wrap up here. So this is what we've created. This is what we created here down at the bottom. So for our math class,
Got it.
we created this algorithm here. This is Bodwin's work. Bodwin and Tracy Cox created this.
Oh, I don't know.
And so let's preview this. So if you're a math teacher, this will be really easy for you to understand. I am a business teacher. I could probably figure it out if I needed to. But this is a continuous range. Now you have multiple questions. Now you're going to have some decimals. So it's not going to be as nice and neat as maybe you might have on your worksheet. But there it is. No more grading. No more test preparation. Bodwin, this is her hardest question on her semester 2 final. She's done with it now. She used to make 4 different versions. We go down to the copy room. Now we're saving paper, we're saving trees, and most importantly, we're saving time, and the students are getting instant feedback. So hopefully you learned a lot. Yeah, and they can't copy off each other. That's a very good question. A very good point too, Mrs. Cox. So hopefully today's lesson was productive for you. Well, thank you for attending.